Hey guys, what is up and welcome to a new Tesla update video. So today, as per usual, sorry to open up the window here quickly, but as per usual, let's go over Tesla stock. Let's go over the market. Let's talk about what is happening on this pretty painful day in the markets across the board, really. And yeah, I'll give you my thoughts moving forward and all of that good stuff as per usual. So also, as per usual, ladies and gentlemen, if you enjoy my technical analysis, thoughts, updates on the charts, etc., don't forget to hit that like button. This is not financial advice. I am not a financial advisor. But if you do enjoy my, again, thoughts like this on the charts, I do share these thoughts every single day the market is trading, during the trading day, and then throughout the whole trading day with my members on YouTube. That link is down below if you would like to join and subscribe. Again, it's just $3 a month for the first tier, which is just pretty much mainly updates on Tesla stock and sometimes other stocks as well whenever I obviously see opportunities. Or for $5 a month, you get access to everything I just said, plus NVIDIA daily updates throughout the trading day, as the market is, of course, well, trading. But anyways, jumping into it, Tesla closing the day down, unfortunately, 4%, closing at $394.60, which you can argue compared to the market, it's actually not too far away from being kind of in line with the market, because QQQ definitely having a painful day, down almost 2% on the day. So Tesla arguably following the market a little bit here. But what does this mean moving forward for Tesla stock? Well, the overall picture, really, nothing really changed too much, right? We are just pretty much still within this downward channel that's still going to remain, right? And like I mentioned a few days ago, I think, was it Monday? Today's Tuesday, right? I think I mentioned this on like last week, Thursday or Friday or something like that. I mentioned how I expect overall chop within this area. And that's kind of what we're getting right now. And that's what I still expect to happen, unfortunately. So, short term, it'll be a little bit difficult to fully and accurately, especially predict the price action, but ultimately the overall picture is what really matters here, in my opinion, to make things really simple without overcomplicating it for really no reason, ultimately, unless you're literally just day trading the hell out of this. And that's really, simply put, going to be just how the stock decides to move throughout this overall pattern. Because again, what really matters is the fact that we're in a downward channel, and ultimately you expect to continue overall to the downside more so than to the upside. Well, as long as we remain inside this channel. Now, if we break out of this downward channel, thumbs up. That's great news. But until that happens, obviously we assume, that we haven't broken out, essentially, is what I'm trying to say. So in other words, if Tesla can, again, some point, whether it's tomorrow or Friday, because don't forget markets close on Thursday, essentially break, I would say at about 425 roughly, right? If we can break above $425 roughly or so, that'll be, thumbs up, right? That'll be phenomenal. I think the breakout is pretty much more or less here, and we should finally begin that overall move back up to the upside, at the very least, in my opinion, back up to about the 460s. But I wouldn't be surprised if we get a retest of all-time highs. And if we break that, well, that's fresh all-time highs, and we should be on our way into the 500s. Now, obviously, there's still a lot of work to be done before that actually happens, but that's kind of the overall picture. And like I said, as long as we're inside this downward channel, we will most likely overall move downwards more so than upwards until proven otherwise, right? So the downward target, you have the upside targets, right? 425 is probably the main one right now that really matters. Everything else is just noise. Ideally, of course, a close above 425. The downward targets are really not too far away from here, right? Ultimately, I think Tesla doesn't have that much more room to the downside. Like I said, to me, like the absolute worst case scenario for Tesla, realistic bull case scenario that I see, that's still bullish, but it's like the worst case bullish scenario. It's a pretty big range, right? Tesla's pretty volatile. That would be a drop of about another 9% or so to about $360 per share, right? That's my kind of worst case scenario in the bullish scenario. I actually don't even think there's a bear case scenario here personally. I mean, really, I guess losing this downward channel and falling under the downward channel would be the bearish scenario, but that's also one of those things where I'm not going to assume it's going to happen until, of course, it actually happens. So as of right now, to me, the worst case scenario right now, while maintaining this thesis, about 360, which is again about another 9% drop or so. Now, I'm not saying that's going to happen. I'm not saying that's guaranteed. Nobody knows if that's going to happen or if that's guaranteed. It's just, you should be, in my opinion, not financial advice, more or less a little bit mentally prepared for, 360 or so, ish, give or take, of course, because there, again, as long as we're in this downward channel, that absolutely is, a very possible target. So just watch for that, right? But I do think we have a lot of support, especially if we go to 360. But my kind of not worst case scenario, but my kind of base case scenario downward target, while maintaining, of course, within this downward channel, will be a bit closer to about 375 to 370-ish dollars per share, which would be pretty much right where the bottom Bollinger Band is, right? That's number one. It's also kind of combined with that market bias support, which is number 2, and it will still be pretty close, especially if it happens as early as tomorrow, to the bottom of the trend line support, essentially. So that will be more or less like a triple-ish support type situation setting up there. So again, that's my overall consensus, right? As low as 360-ish to as, I don't want to say as high as, but as low high as, I guess, as about 375, right? That $15-ish range is kind of my like downward target to where, hey, there's a place to bounce. And if there's a place for, like real, like, an actual balance and potentially the bottom even arguably to come in, man, that's the spot, man. That's the spot right there, in my opinion. Right now, again, I'm not saying we're going to get there. Maybe we will, maybe we won't. Nobody knows. It's just good to have these levels in mind so that if it happens, you're ready. If it doesn't, you know what to look out for to the upside. And you kind of just, in my opinion, at least wait for one of them to trigger. Whichever one comes first, hey, there you go. Or obviously, if you don't really give a shit, hey, just slowly DCA and hey, let this thing kind of do its thing until it eventually breaks out at some point. It's just, in theory, there could be, we don't know how long this downward channel can go. This could go much, much slower. Like we can take the Fibonacci from here, for instance. We could draw it from here all the way back up to this general vicinity, all the way up here. Right. We are roughly at that 618 Fibonacci level, but, we do have my bond target, which is the green Fibonacci lines down here, sitting at around 360, right? So that would be my downward target if we see more pain ahead in the market, which again, it's a possibility, right? You definitely don't want to discount it entirely. That would be foolish. But again, I don't think we'll go lower than that. Like I'd be surprised if we drop much lower than 360, high 350s. Like I'd be very shocked if we go much lower than that in this instance of dropping / correction, essentially. Now, the one thing that's not making me, go crazy, buying this dip, and I'm like, oh man, I'm, can't wait to buy this dip, is because the stochastic is, well, again, downward channel, but the stochastic is also, it's just pointing straight down. It's just straight down. No signs of recovery, just utterly pointing into Earth's core as if it's just drilling down into the ground pretty aggressively as well. I want to see at the very least some curling action happening on the stochastic, right? I think Amazon actually has a bit of a, no, it had a bit of curling action. Even Amazon, is anything curling? I mean, kind of like what AMD did down here, for instance, I guess you can say, right? That's some nice curling action, right? Microsoft was kind of trying to do it, but at the very least, Microsoft is in oversold territory now. Kind of like this, like you see how Meta right here had this little curling action, like something like this is what I want to see on Tesla, right? Something like that is where I want to see on Tesla, where it's showing some signs of life, essentially, is what I'm trying to say. But the stochastic right now, it's not really showing us that the buying pressure is ready to come in just yet. So at the very least, I want to see some curling pressure come in. And if that starts happening, especially in oversold territories, and if we somehow get down to that bottom end of the stochastic, like all the way down here, which maybe if we go to 360, it will, of course, man, then I think we're setting up for something very, very, very fascinating. And I'll be very excited if that actually does come to fruition or not. So anyways, in my opinion, again, overall, it's just a patience game. All it is just a patience game. Right now, the market, as it chops here, is just playing everyone's patience. If you buy it in too early, if you bought it in on the FOMO, thinking this is it for some reason, this is it. We're time to rally, guys. When, in my opinion, there was literally no signs of it. Now we're falling, and now the market's testing your patience. Can you hold on, or are you gonna get scared, or are you gonna sell, or are you gonna, again, that's what choppiness usually does, especially when it's pretty volatile choppiness. It's very good at testing your patience and your mental fortitude, if you will. So make sure you watch out for that. Anyways, moving into the options flow on Tesla stock, let's take a look and see what happened. I don't know what's happening here. Let me quickly do this again. Log in quickly, make sure everything is good here. It is beautiful. Let's go over to Tesla stock, see what's happening in the options flow. By the way, Flow, phenomenal option service platform. If you're interested, link is below. Definitely check it out. It is quite good with the discount code as well using my link. But jumping into it, yeah, Tesla options flow. For the most part, pretty mixed, actually. You can see pretty mixed between bullish and bearish flow throughout the day. So overall, pretty mixed. Towards the end of the day, we had some calls come in right here for 110, which again, they're weekly, unfortunately. Nice little 2 million and 1.4 million calls coming in, but they're leaps. Keep that in mind. They're 2027, pretty much, a few years out from even today, right? 2 years out from pretty much today. So again, I don't care about leaps too much. 2 years from now, I'm sure we'll be overall higher, right? I care about what's happening the next month or so. That's what I really care about. And, or even the next week or so, right? But this is not going to really give us too much indication, unfortunately. So, despite these puts coming in down here or these calls coming in down here, they're all, or at least the vast majority of them are for this week's expiration. So it really feels like choppiness is that's just the name of the game right now, because there's nothing really meaningful I'm seeing that's making me think that, yeah, we're ready to reverse back up, or we're truly going to really just really, crater down even further. Because again, most of these expirations I'm seeing, whether they're calls or puts, are just simply for this week, man. So it's probably just short-term games being played right now. And hey, it is what it is, right? I'm perfectly okay with that. Unfortunately, Tesla is confirmed bearish flow at 35 million. So take that for what it's worth, I guess, as well. But again, the charts tell the picture, man. The charts really tell the picture, and ultimately, I just believe that it's just going to be a chopping game. It's a chop fest. We'll go up 4%, then we'll drop 4%, then we'll drop 3%, then go up 5%. That's just the name of the game. We're just going to be chopping through this chop fest over here until we either come down to, in my opinion, the bottom target, which again closer to 370s, but maybe even 360s, to where I think we can finally put in a bottom, and or really whichever comes first, a break out of this, which is about 425-ish dollars per share. Whichever one comes first. Everything in between those two major levels is just noise. So watch out for that and make sure you're not getting whiplashed. That's very, very important. Yeah, that's all I got for you. Let me know what you think down below, and I'll see you tomorrow. Peace.